Hey guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I'm doing a review of the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle by Kim Krans. So many of you guys are familiar with the Wild Unknown, of course, back when it was the indie deck and then when it became mass produced. And the version that I have is actually the third edition, so it is one of the mass produced editions. However, I had also decided to get the Archetypes Oracle created by Kim Krans, and you know, I watched, there was like a lot of reviews on it and everybody had something different to say, and so I'm going to put in, you know, my 2 cents. But I've had this deck for a while, so back around the time when it first came out, was this like a few years ago now, over 2 years ago maybe, that I've had this. I've been able to work with it, so I figure I have some good background on it now, you know, having used it for a while, used it with other decks and sometimes on its own, and just want to give you guys my experience. And you know, maybe if you guys are interested in it, I'll put the link down below. You guys can go ahead and get it, but if not, then hey, just stick around for some beautiful images. All right, so as you can see, it's probably going to be a circular deck as the box is circular, and it has the Wild Unknown Archetypes, Kim Kran, and that's written all around the perimeter here. Here we have a little diamond, nice and dark, and then on the back, printed by Harper One, we have a couple more pieces of art there. So it's a little bit different than when you guys are used to, if all you've ever seen is the Wild Unknown. And I think a lot of people were expecting it to be exactly like her tarot deck, but you know, as art goes, it's good for artists to try out new things and to evolve their art styles. So here inside the lid we have what looks like a little pearl, kind of within this, I don't know, almost like flesh, so it looks pretty awesome. And then we have this little ribbon here, which will help us to take our deck out. And I do believe, let's see, I don't remember if at the time I had a larger box that came with it. There had to have been, because there was I think there was a guidebook that came with it, but all that stuff's in storage. So all I've really been working with for the past few years is just this deck, and I try not to rely on guidebooks too much. I mean, I like to take a gander through them, just to kind of get an idea of what the artist or the creator was going for, but I like to rely on my intuition and how I feel, especially since this is more of like, you know, using archetypes as type of a psychology. You know, I want to be able to feel through these cards. Okay, so on the inside, this is the bottom of the other box, so you can see how they kind of complement each other. You have like a little diamond, and this one being a pearl, diamonds and pearls. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that aside, and let's take a look at the backs of these cards. And it's given like, it's supposed to look like a diamond, but you can see that there's all these geometric shapes in it, and it was given kind of a black and white look with, you know, kind of grainy, almost fabric type feel. Well, not really feel, but it looks like it would feel that way, and I think that that is really interesting. The cardstock, pretty thick actually. So when you have all of these cards together with that thick cardstock, sometimes it can make it kind of hard to shuffle, so I have to really put my hands kind of wide. I'm 5'8", so I mean, I don't have incredibly large hands. I'm not palming basketballs, you guys, but I will say that if you have smaller hands, it might be a little bit harder for you to shuffle, so just a little FYI. Okay, but yeah, so it is pretty thick, and like I've said, I've had it for a few years, absolutely no chipping, so you know, the cardstock has held up over time, and you can see there's not really any sheen to it, so it's got a really nice matte finish to it. Many of you guys like that, you know, smoothness of the matte finish, you know, instead of having that coating where like the cards get stuck together. Not so with this deck. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with these lovely images. Her art seems to have more of kind of a mixed media in this deck, where it seems like there are cutouts, but there's also some ink drawing in here. There's watercolors, you know, all kinds of stuff. And you might be wondering, like, what do you do with these archetypes? You know, the vision, the shapeshifter. And basically, the psychology is that we are we embody certain archetypes throughout various stages of our life. And sometimes various areas of our life also have certain archetypes. So let's say I pulled the card, the Siren, and I might be asking myself, how does this connect with who I show myself to be at work, or who I show myself to be within my family. And I might want to pull a few tarot cards for clarification, but it's also really good for meditation. And I'm a huge proponent of meditation, connecting to your higher self, because I believe that when you connect to source, whether you call that heaven or God or whatever, when you connect to that energy, the energy that we all have access to, we can gain a lot of insight about ourselves and finding ways to help ourselves. So like this one, the shaman, let's say I'm trying to figure out, what role do I play in my family? And here it is, the shaman. What does that mean? So I want to sit with it. I want to journal with it. So this is definitely not a deck where, I don't know, you just pull a few cards and you're like, oh, that's cool, and you move on. Like, no. Yeah, you're gonna need to find some time to write about this, because there's so much going on with these messages that you're not gonna remember everything. So make sure that you write it down or dictate it into your phone, whatever it may be. Maybe if you're an artist yourself, or maybe if you're not an artist and you want to draw something that comes to mind, or how you feel when you pull a card, like this is really therapeutic. This is a really therapeutic deck. And I will say, because I do find it to be more of a psychological deck, as well as one that taps into my intuition, I don't use it very often. And you might be saying, well, if I like it so much, why don't I use it very often in the few years that I've had it? And that's because I use it for very special things. Like, I'm not just doing a tarot spread with it, like the spreads that we see on Instagram, or even the spreads I've created. I don't use it like that, although you could. It's more like if there's I want to look at more deeply of who I am and how I act and who I'm presenting myself to be. And why is that? And is that something that I feel is in alignment with where I want to be and who I want to be? Or is that something that I want to change? So, if I'm presenting myself as the riddle to everybody, I don't want to seem like an enigma. I don't want to seem like I'm hard to understand. So why am I closing myself off? Kind of like here we have this like unending, almost like snake here. Why would I close myself off like that? Why do I want to seem like I'm mysterious to people? So this is really, really, really good for that deep dive. I wouldn't say it's a shadow deck, but it is great for shadow work. It's really good for checking in. At first, I was trying to figure out different ways to utilize it. So I used it as a card of the day. What archetype I might be embodying that day. And I thought it was interesting. And I thought, the messages that came across were interesting. Then I tried to use it in tarot spreads. Again, it was like, it seemed almost lackluster, the messages coming through. And I was like thinking, like, is it the deck? Am I just not getting along with it? And I found it really came into its own when I started asking something a little bit deeper about me personally. And I have used this in client readings, when they're asking some bigger questions, not like, does he love me, or, stuff like that. But not that there's anything wrong with that. But it's when people are asking, okay, I've made the same mistake over and over again. I want to know why. And so then we start looking at the archetypes. And let's say I pull something like this and I say, okay, so you are embodying the threshold. So this could mean that you are preventing yourself from moving forward in, whatever area it may be. Why is that? So now we pull a few tarot cards. So let's really dive into that. So it's like a really good deep aspect thing. And actually, like let's say you do have romance questions of like, does he or she, or this person love me? We might want to look into why you might be fixated on this one person. What does this one person embody for you? So maybe this one person embodies the storm. Well, what does that mean for you? And we can dive even deeper, with some tarot cards. So I think this is a great jumping off point. This deck uncovers things. Like, this might look a little scary to some people. This uncovers things that maybe we're having a hard time seeing just by strictly pulling tarot cards or Lenormand or whatever it may be. And we want to dive a little bit deeper. Let's have this one, Father. That's interesting. And even now, you know, because I haven't pulled every card in this deck for myself, just kind of flipping through it now again, and I'm just like, it's so beautiful. I definitely love, you know, the watercolors, the almost like magazine cutouts mixed with the ink drawing and sketching. It looks like you're looking down at the top of the Pyramid of Giza, or you're looking down into what could have been a void, but there's a light at the end. Here you have love, agape. Just so cool. You know, I could ask, you know, in our family unit, who does my brother embody? He embodies the pilgrim. My father embodies the shadow. My mother embodies the Natos. And I embody the king. Okay, so in that little family structure, you know, how do we all work synergistically? What do we have to teach each other? What can we learn from each other, you know, that way? You know, how could my mother, father embody, you know, my light aspect and my shadow aspect? It just can take you so many different places. Like, seriously, you guys, if you're looking for something a little bit deeper, like you're interested in more psychology and really trying to understand yourself and those around you, I highly recommend this deck. Like I said, I've had some time to work with it. It's not like something that I just got. This has been with me. I dig it. I refuse to give it up because it's been so beneficial. And it's gotten me through some pretty tough times. You know, sometimes we think that, you know, I want the really loving decks if I'm going through something. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't want to have to go through something like this again. Let's just dive into what's really going on. Like, who am I here? And let's work to heal it now instead of prolonging it. Sometimes I think that if I just like want a cozy blanket, it's going to prolong my tower moments, you know? And so I think this deck is helpful for that. And as you can see, there are a lot of cards here. I do not remember how many cards there are in total. Like I said, I think, yeah, there was a guidebook, and I think there was, and an like a box that this whole thing came in, but that's in storage. And storage is far away because I moved to the state of Arizona. The crone. That's cool. I remember pulling this card before. Oh, the feels are coming up. All right, last card. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little reading. So if you don't know, when I do my reviews, I always make sure that there is a message in there, and hopefully it resonates with a lot of you. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I hope that you came by, were able to look at some awesome images and just some creativity that's out there by, you know, different creators and artists. And this one by Kim Kranz. So, you know, hopefully you got a lot of that, but let's go ahead and pull an archetype and try to get a message from that for somebody or a lot of somebodies who are out there. So, and also so you can see how I read with it. Okay, we have the ocean, and let's go ahead and bring this in nice and tight so you can actually see everything that's going on in this card. Okay, straight away the message that I'm getting, and again, remember that this is archetypes, so I feel like there are many of you that are embodying the archetype of the ocean. What do we think of when we think of the ocean? I think that, you know, it's basically it's what our Earth is mostly made up of. Of course we have a few land masses here and there, but it's mostly ocean. And there's a lot of things that are within our oceans, and there are depths that we have not traveled to yet because it's too deep for us. We don't know how to get there yet, and we know that yet there is life down there, and so there's a lot that's undiscovered. And we know that there is a lot of travel that happens in various forms, on the ocean. Sometimes there's cruise ships, sometimes there's battleships. So there's a lot that goes on with this ocean. So for some of you who are watching, I feel like you embody that ocean. I feel like you try to be all the things to everyone for fear of disappointment. You want to be the one who is able to allow the battleship to traverse across your seas. You allow yourself to be open to other people's battles, or in this case in the ocean, wars. You might also allow yourself to be open to other people's joys, aka with cruise ships. You allow others to, stick around in the depths of your emotions and just let them settle there. You allow them to utilize your energy, your resources. And so this is just a reminder to really understand all the people that are coming across your ocean, whether they're sailing, they're swimming, diving, or living within you, your energy. That's how I see the ocean, is your energy, your emotions, your intuition, your energetic field. Who are you allowing in there? And is it their place to be in there? So I think this is a reminder to put up stronger barriers. Oftentimes we feel that it is mean to have our barriers around us, because we think of barrier, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to keep anybody out. And it's not about keeping people out. It's about being a sovereign being and understanding that you deserve to be cared for, loved, and other people need to respect your barriers or boundaries, and they need to respect their own barriers, boundaries. So this is just a reminder to take a look at your boundaries and who is in violation of those boundaries. They may not be doing it out of any malicious intent, but it may be draining on you. And you are a powerful being. You don't deserve to be sucked dry like some victim of a vampire. Okay, so, and neither do our oceans deserve to be sucked dry. So there you go. So anyway, I hope this message makes sense. I hope some of you can take it, kind of see how it sits with you, meditate with it, journal about it. How are you the archetype of the ocean? Who's just, sailing across you all willy-nilly, using up your resources, having a great time, and maybe with no regard to how that makes you feel. And maybe they're not, like I said, they're not doing it because they're mean. They just don't know that you have barriers in place, or, borders, or, any of that. So anyway, like I said, I hope that connects with you. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck by Kim Krans. Like I said, I've had it for quite some time. Let me know your thoughts. Do you guys have this? Did you have it? Do you also use it more psychologically? Do you pair it with your tarot cards? Do you use it alone? Yeah, I want to know. So anyway, that's it for me, spiritual homies. If you dug this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that ding 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 notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I have a lot of different reading styles, as well as conchomancy. Yes, I read with seashells. I do scrying, and I do rainbow bridge readings, lots of different readings. So definitely check it out. I have my room body sprays, my salves that I make. But if you're looking for something a little bit more on the witchy side for your spiritual practice, then check out Desert Cauldron. It's all one word on Etsy. I am co-owner with James over at Light of Riga. You know him over on his YouTube channel, where he talks everything crystals, but he also has his tarot readings that he does. But you can find us on the Instagram at desert.cauldron, and sometimes we do free one-card readings in our stories, but we're always posting new things that we've created. or that local artisans have created. So we make sure that we have very unique, one-of-a-kind items in our shop, because we feel that you guys have very personal, unique, one-of-a-kind practices. You know, whether you consider yourselves witches or not, you guys have very unique spiritual practices, and we want to make sure that our tools reflect that. For example, some of the things that I'm working with here that are actually, you can also find them in our shop. And some people were like, oh, how come you're always using the things that are in your shop? Well, because if I didn't use those things, we wouldn't, you know, have them in our shop. So basically everything we love and we use and we find interesting, we put in the shop. And, you know, I want to be able to say, hey, you know, this is how I work with it. And, you know, maybe you might want to work with it this way, but we want to be able to give genuine feedback on the things that we sell. So one of the things that I love to utilize is dogtooth calcite. And this is just like, dude, amps up the energy like no tomorrow. So this is not quite like quartz, but it directs energy like crazy. So this one's really cool. This is actually created locally over on the reservation of the White Mountain Apache Reservation, actually in northern Arizona. So this was a tomahawk that's been created. It's got polychrome jasper. It's made with what is that? Rawhide. Has badger fur here, wild turkey feathers, like you know, found, and horse's tail, and just, you know, leather wrapping. It's just so many elements going on here, and this is great for like busting through barriers. Like if there's a problem that keeps coming up time and time again, like I was talking about with the archetype deck. Like let's say, you know, the ocean card keeps coming up for me. It's like, I've done all this shadow work, I'm working on this stuff. Like, how come this keeps coming up for me? That's when you want to use this tomahawk, and you want to metaphorically kind of, you know, bash through those things and like really see pieces of yourself or parts of your life that you haven't dove into yet that need work, so that you can finally heal this portion of yourself. So the tomahawks are really great for that. So you can come in with like a dagger or a ceremonial knife and do some cord cutting afterwards, but this paves the way for the cord cutting. So anyway, things like that. We try to put some educational stuff on our Etsy, our Etsy site, but also on Instagram. So if you want to know some more about stuff, then definitely check us out there. But I thought this was really awesome. My family is actually a Pima Indian, but we are surrounded by so many different reservations and tribes around here that is freaking awesome. So anyway, I will catch you spiritual homies later, and yeah, I hope you dug this. So peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.